how many did they not open? They opened about 3 or 4 exam portals per year. Forget that, Jerry. Anyway, make we start. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not sharing my screen. Sorry. I thought I was sharing my screen before. Okay, please let me know if you can see my screen so we can get started.
Yeah, I can see your screen though.
Cool. Hi, Dami Oguns. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. So let's get started. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Crypto Pulse Weekly, our weekly digest of the cryptocurrency world, and basically an explanation of what is going on in the past 1 week in the cryptocurrency markets. So let's get started as usual. We'll run through the market updates and we'll talk about what's happening in terms of the technical analysis for the major cryptos. And then we'll do some technical review of the charts and then talk about the crypto drip, which is the knowledge transfer session. And we'll go from there to question and answers. So let's get started. So in terms of market updates, we had quite an interesting one today because initially what I had written was Bitcoin crashes from, attempting all-time high. And just immediately after I wrote that, I saw that the chart started going back up. Basically, the correction that some people were afraid of did not happen after the market touched 58,000. So it sort of confirms the near-term expectation that the market will probably not retrace or recoil until 60 or 62,000. But in terms of volatility, generally speaking, we're still very much in volatile range, and more so because of this news on the stimulus package. I know it's been all over the news this week about the $1.9 trillion COVID stimulus package from the United States. That money definitely is going to significantly find its way into the cryptocurrency market, bearing in mind that if you invested your last stimulus package as a US citizen recipient of that 1,002, it will be worth $10,000 today. So that's enough incentive for everybody to put their stimulus package into Bitcoin. So we expect that even if there's a sharp correction, maybe to the 50s or to maybe 49,000, it will be quickly bought up because of the impending inflow of cash from the stimulus package. So expect to see a lot of rise in the price of Bitcoin in the coming days. There are indicators. Well, they're not on-chain indicators directly, but there are chain metrics that suggest that some whales will be interested in selling at around 60,000 and 62,000. But that's only depending on how much they have available to sell. If everything they have available to sell is quickly bought up, then the price continues to go up. My price projection, as I said from last month, is that Bitcoin will likely hit 100K somewhere between the end of this month and middle of April. That's my current projection, and I think it's still very much in play. So we expect that to play out on the price of Bitcoin. Like I tell people, if it drops 30% today or it drops 10% tomorrow, it doesn't really matter because, like every other commodity in the markets, in fact, most commodities are right now more volatile than Bitcoin in retrospect. So there'll be price fluctuations, and you will expect that the price will not go up in a straight line, basically. So we expect to see more of that. But overall, I think month on month this year, I think we're going to have price gain. So if you bought Bitcoin this week, if you sell by the last week of March, you definitely have made more than 10% gain. I mean, it's a given, definitely, if not 50% or 25% at the minimum. So that's in terms of volatility. In terms of regulation, there was this news that Bank of Japan will be enforcing their cryptocurrency tax from 2022 in form of capital gains. So I still struggle to see how that will play out, because the way most tax authorities work is, if you don't report yourself to them, they don't have any frame of reference. But once you report once, then you have to always keep reporting. And knowing most people who are interested in crypto, when most people are not interested in declaring their crypto involvement, even guys that are closely being monitored in the United States, many of them use VPNs and use decentralized wallets and DeFi. So it will be interesting to see how that pans out as a model and as a test run for governments with the Bank of Japan. In terms of sentiment, the sentiment is back bullish. It's still very cautiously bullish, but once the House passed that package, I think it even started once the Senate agreed to pass it, then the sentiment sort of started shifting. Then we found out that our usual buyers like MicroStrategy were still buying as well. And from that time, which was like Friday, Saturday, the sentiment has been relatively upward. And I think it's gained about, what am I saying? Yeah, it's gained more than about 20% since that time. So we're still in very, very bullish territory, generally speaking. As I was saying, stimulus is going to definitely affect the price of Bitcoin. At the beginning of stimulus in April, Bitcoin was between 7,000 and 9,000. By the time they were done, Bitcoin was already sitting at, I think, about 14,000 at the peak of it. Then at some point, it got to 16,000 before crashing back at the end of summer. So we expect that we'll see some significant price movement, not only because of the stimulus itself, because this stimulus, in a way, is more skewed towards the retail than towards the business, unlike the last one. But we will still see a lot of institutional interest coming to play, much more so because we now have Bitcoin sitting above the $1 trillion market capitalization consistently. When any asset class has a $1 trillion capitalization, it's a global force to reckon with, regardless of what it is. If you have a $1 trillion capitalization, everybody wants to get involved at any point in time. And the reason being that if I have 500 million or 500 billion in institutional assets under management, and I want to invest 50 billion, I want to know that the market I'm investing that money in has enough liquidity when I take my money out, such that if I want to take my money out, like, at the snap of a finger, I can get it out. And that's one of the things that this $1 trillion Bitcoin market suggests. I mean, the overall market cap now is about 1.7. So we're gradually approaching 2 trillion. With the advent of this stimulus, I think we'll easily get to 2.5 to 3 trillion by end of the quarter. And I think we're doing very well, given the fact that the month of March historically has been a poor month for both stock and cryptocurrencies, except maybe 2013. Every other year has been quite poor for cryptocurrencies. And right now, it doesn't look like Bitcoin is going anywhere down soon. And I mean, not to talk about the altcoin season as well, which is surreptitiously creeping into the markets, even though people are not realizing that. But I'll talk about that later. So that's about what's happening with Bitcoin. Another news I wanted to carry was this explosive growth for the Bitcoin and crypto lending industry. So these three guys are the biggest market players right now: Nexo, Celsius, and BlockFi. Celsius has, in fact, the astronomical growth of Celsius is crazy. It's one of my 2020 regrets, because $1,000 in Celsius in March would have made you about maybe $200,000 at the end of the year or beginning of this year, because it went from 6 cents. It went from 6 cents in the month of March to $6. And I saw it then, and I bought some, but I think I sold at maybe like 90 cents or something. Just like, I made enough profit on this one, and I went for other things, only to come back and realize that the price had gone astronomically. So these guys have made significant profits in the last 1 year. They've seen a very huge surge in the demand for Bitcoin lending services. Their assets under management too have hit very massive milestones. Right now, the three firms together hold more than $30 billion in assets under management. I mean, considering that some of these companies are less than 3 years old. So it's quite significant that they've seen that amount of growth in a very short period of time, which is essentially the last 16 months. And it also lends credence to the fact that crypto is gaining more adoption in the mainstream. The other one was this news around companies that are adopting or accepting Bitcoin for payments, and like someone said, don't look at what they're saying, look at what they're doing. So you have people like Tesla, Namecheap, GandiNet, BitPay, BrewDog, Expedia, Twitch. Twitch is a company owned by Amazon. Square is owned by Twitter's owner. BitPay is like the most common cryptocurrency payments provider. And with BitPay, you can actually buy anything, literally, both in the US and in UK. So essentially, BitPay is just like an ambiguous intermediary to the payment systems in both UK and the US. So for instance, with BitPay, you can pay Tesco, you can pay Sainsbury, Asda, any of the retailers in the UK, and you can buy gift cards. And even Microsoft, you remember I told you maybe about 3 weeks ago when I was saying that I don't trust what Bill Gates is saying about cryptocurrency, because I knew that somewhere in the background, Microsoft was offering to accept Bitcoin for payments on some of its subsidiaries. So this is just an example. I mean, even though they will report data that says, okay, they think less than 20% of the retailers in the US are willing to accept Bitcoin, but I think it's a lot more deeper than that, because most of them are willing to accept things like BitPay or Square, which are, I mean, Bitcoin intermediaries or cryptocurrency intermediaries. So that's just in the news. In another news, our usual customer, MicroStrategy, has bought another dip. If you know me very well, I cover MicroStrategy all the time, and they never fail to disappoint. I mean, they never disappoint. Sorry, they always buy the dip. Anytime you see a drop in price of Bitcoin, be sure that somewhere, somehow, MicroStrategy is buying. And that's exactly what happened. Last week, I reported that they bought some that took their holdings to 90,000. When the price dropped again, this morning, they reported that they bought another 262 for about an average of 57K. So this chart on the right actually shows their holdings versus the purchase price. So they started buying at around 23. They started buying at below 12K, which was around 10,000, 10,005 in the month of, I think that was September, beginning of September / end of August, when the price dropped. So when the price dropped in August to 9K and came back to 10K the same week, that was around the time they started buying. They bought all the dip all till December when the price started going up. And as the price was going up, they were still buying. In December, they raised about 650 million in debt. They bought more. The price went up. They still continued buying. And they bought again at the beginning of the year before the price went to 40K. They bought again when the price dropped from 40K to 37 before Tesla came and bought and took the price to the 40s. Then when the price got to the 50s and came back to the 40s again, they bought last week. And yet again, they bought now. Right now, I think they have about $5 billion in Bitcoins. I think, as I always say, I think MicroStrategy will be a very significant case study in business schools in the years to come, because what they've done will definitely be a model of how publicly traded company can store value for their shareholders and their customers. But I'm really impressed about their resoluteness about this cash strategy. So their cash strategy is whatever we have in our excess reserve, we're converting to Bitcoins. So consistently, they've been buying Bitcoins for more than 8 months now. And yet again, they bought this morning. There was this news that came out today. I don't know if many for the day traders, you probably have noticed a very sharp decline in the price of Binance Coin. This is the reason. So the U.S. Commodities Futures Trading Commission put out a notice that they're investigating Binance, and that the investigation is related to residents of U.S. involved in Binance futures platform. Now, they did state that they are not accusing Binance of any wrong, and that news they say, Binance has not been accused of any wrong. But what I think happened was Binance just hired a guy that used to be in the Senate Committee on Compliance or something like that. That guy just hired as one of their advisors. I think that was yesterday or the day before yesterday. So this is like an attempt to create fear, uncertainty, and disappointment or doubt in the hearts of people about Binance. Because really and truly, when CFTC say they are investigating you, it's almost like trying to jumpstart you to make an unforced error. I don't know if you get what I mean. Let's say there's a kidnap, for instance, and you say that the police is going to be deployed all over the country to look for the kidnapper, we'll be working night and day, we'll be checking all the databases. Anybody that really committed that crime will be on the edge. So even if the person was calm before about their execution plan and the crime they committed, they might be forced to go back to the crime scene to try to clean up evidence. And most of the time, if you watch movies and in real life, that's what happens. So when they say you're investigating, it's an attempt to trigger them to make an unforced error, through which they can now properly charge them. So I think this is one of those moves where, they say we're investigating you. We don't have anything yet, but we're investigating you. That move is to make you make an error where they can catch you, essentially. But I think Binance guys are a tad ahead of them. We'll see how it plays out. Binance is currently the biggest exchange in terms of market capitalization
in Canada.
And in terms of trade. And because of that, it's understandable that there will be a target. Before now, it was the likes of Bitfinex, BitMEX that are the biggest players. But Binance is now the biggest players. And I think Binance probably foresaw this coming when they separated their Binance US company as a platform from the Binance.com platform. I think it was a smart decision. And I think it's probably going to be their saving grace at the end of the day, because they will tell you that as long as the server is reading US, you cannot perform some services on Binance.com. I mean, when I'm using US, when I'm using VPN and I choose US servers, it will throw me out of my login, because it will say, you are in the US and we cannot offer so and so services in the US. So I think to a good extent, they might have covered their tracks. There might be one or two things, like that report from Bloomberg in, I think it was September or December, about, them trying to block the US government from catching them in any way. But time will tell. Number one, they're not a US registered entity, meaning Binance.com. And Binance US is going through proper compliance. So it might be a bit difficult to charge them, because if you want to charge them, they will say, you know what, our business in the US is Binance US. So, and Binance US is compliant to all, the known compliance requirements, like every other US cryptocurrency exchange. So it will be interesting to see how this played out. It was a pity I was not on my desk when that happened, because I saw the dip came down from like 348 to like 249, something like that. So it was quite a sharp dip. It was a good time to buy the dip. And I saw that many of the Binance chain coins also dipped around the same time. But in fairness, I don't think there's anything to worry about for Binance at this time, other than to buy the dip. An interesting survey from Robinhood. So if you don't know Robinhood, Robinhood is like a stock trading app, but they've now incorporated cryptocurrency into their offering. And what they're saying is, according to their data, there's a 40% increase in the amount of, there's not a 40% increase, a 7-fold increase in the amount of women that are using their app. So what they're saying is that 40% of their users are now women, which was not before. If I said up until, I think it was December 2020, it wasn't like that. So between December and now, they've had a 7-fold increase in the number of women using the app. And they're trying to say that it looks like the women are catching the fire more than the men with regards to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency investments. But I think it's a very important data because I think women are naturally more enterprising or have tendency to be more enterprising than men in most cases. And if you have more women coming into Bitcoin, you might have a lot of long-term holders in the way. Anyway, moving on to Ethereum. I don't know if you've noticed, but Ethereum has been quite wobbly in the last almost 2 weeks now. In fact, more than 2 weeks, because since it did the 1,800 all-time high, the price has just been sluggish. Even relative to other coins. So, I mean, other coins have moved up and down each way, maybe 10 or 20%. Ethereum just seems to have been gradually dipping and dipping and dipping. And the only explainable reason is what we can call the infighting among the Ethereum developers and miners. So just to explain that ecosystem for Ethereum, Ethereum is like the Amazon of blockchain that allows people to build applications and all kind of platforms on the Ethereum blockchain. For people mining Ethereum, they get paid when they validate transactions and they contribute to the development of the network. So part of the ecosystem of the Ethereum production are the miners, which provide their systems and their computer resources to mine Ethereum. Then you also have the developers that are building solutions and are maintaining the Ethereum network, who also get paid. So from the standpoint of the developers, they want to apply the network upgrade for the next network upgrade, which is supposed to come into effect in July. They want to apply that upgrade because it helps Ethereum to reduce gas fee, and it will help with scaling, which means when the network is very busy, the network can sort of fragment itself with a mechanism called sharding to help it work faster. So it's supposed to help the network, respond faster to volume and scale better. But it will mean that the miners will get less revenue from mining Ethereum. So it's created a lot of problem within the Ethereum network and ecosystem. So there's been a lot of infighting. Even as last week, they said, yeah, they agreed that, okay, the upgrade should go on. But I understand that not all the miners still agree to that. And there are rumors that they're going to plan a Black Swan event on the 1st of April, where they're going to jam the network for like 50-something hours and see how Ethereum is going to be able to survive. Basically, like they're going to try to sabotage the Ethereum network. I don't know how true that is, but that's the word on the streets. Like I was saying to some of my friends before we started the call, like I don't have any Ethereum right now. The only ones I have are probably like very small fractions, less than $100, sitting in some DeFi wallets as gas fee. I don't have any Ethereum. I've already bought other coins with my Ethereum. So I'm not really worried about what will become of Ethereum. If it happens, it will just mean that people like Polkadot and what's it called, Cardano, automatically get the pump. If it doesn't happen, then Ethereum will start to skyrocket. So I think that's one of the reasons why Ethereum's price has been sluggish. Hopefully, after April 1, if it doesn't happen or if they're not successful with the hack, then because what they're saying is they're gonna model the hack like they're doing an experimental exercise for educational purposes, but it's actually meant to bring down the Ethereum network. That's the word on the street. I can't confirm or refute it, but if you have your Ethereum, I would say you buy something else and wait. Buy something else with your Ethereum and wait till after the 1st of April. That would be it's not a financial advice, but that would be my counsel. That's exactly what I've done. Cardano as well. Cardano has been sluggish. I think there's some sell-off happening in Cardano because even throughout the weekend, up until the beginning of this week till now, the price has not really appreciated. I think maybe a central sell-off of some sort, bearing in mind that most of the Cardano tokens, the bulk of it still sits with the founders and the owners. So there's a possibility that there's a huge sell-off going up because the price has simply refused to go up since last week, or beginning of last week. They also have a network upgrade at the beginning of at the end of the month, but we'll see how it goes. Cardano seems to be more prepared to take the place of Ethereum. I don't want to use the word more prepared, but they seem more positioned than Polkadot on paper. Polkadot on the other hand seems more positioned in real life because they already have spin-offs, like tons and tons of sub-projects that are coming out of the Polkadot ecosystem. But I have my stakes in Cardano and Polkadot, so we'll see how that pans out. But these are very good alternative plays for 2021 in terms of huge market cap altcoins. So moving on from our major altcoins, I want to talk a brief about altcoin season. Somebody have asked me before, and I said the altcoin season is that period in the bull run where the prices of altcoins goes through the roof. In traditional markets, or in normal times, let me use normal times, not traditional markets. In normal times, the price of altcoins goes through the roof when the price of Bitcoin stays stable for a long period of time. However, because of the unconventional scenario that we have right now, where institutional investors is heavily tampering with the markets, and when I mean tampering with the market, they're buying tons and tons of Bitcoins and large cap altcoins. It's difficult for the price of Bitcoin to stay still because at the same time that they are buying those Bitcoins, the amount of Bitcoins that is being sent to exchanges is reducing. It's been reducing for the last 2 years. Right now, it's at an all-time low in 2 years. So it's a bit difficult for Bitcoin to even find a stable price range because the supply keeps reducing. So no matter how much sell-off you have, the market is responding and recovering faster. Historically, what we know is that if you had the kind of sell-off you had at the end of February, it will take like 6 to 9 weeks before the market recovers and continues on an upward journey. I mean, we're barely 10 days and the market has started picking up again. So it's a bit difficult for people to determine whether we're in alt season or not. But I think we're in alt season because when you begin to look at the altcoins, I begin to look at the performance of altcoins from basically from the beginning of February. In fact, some from mid-January, you see that majority of them have appreciated significantly. And I mean, in terms of appreciation, you can say you see some appreciation in major caps and smaller altcoins. Then you see greater appreciation, price appreciation in DeFi. Then you see more appreciation in NFC tokens. NFT tokens is the subject of our knowledge transfer today, so I'll still talk about that later at a high level. So most of these altcoins are already posting significant gains, but I think we're getting fully into altcoins, and we have info that tells us that altcoin season is upon us. So for everybody that's already on the WhatsApp group, who have taken positions in any of the coins that I've told you to, you can congratulate yourself because at least you double your money by the end of this quarter or mid next quarter at the minimum, which is a lot better than keeping your money in the bank anyway. So congratulations to you if you're already taking positions, because I think the kind of price appreciation we're going to see in the next 6 weeks will be very mind-blowing. I won't use any other words for now. I'll just say mind-blowing. So let's go on to Crypto Vital Signs. Here we talk about where we are in terms of global market capitalization of cryptocurrencies versus equities markets, and where we are versus where we were last week. So like I usually say, we're still very small if this was the US equities market, this is what crypto. So if the US equities market was the sun, cryptocurrency market is currently like the earth, and altcoin market is currently like the moon, meaning that the market caps are still, I mean, when I started this analogy last year, Bitcoin was up, cryptocurrency was at $500 million. As a matter of fact, beginning of last year, the market was at 292 billion US dollars, beginning of last year. After the halving in May, it climbed up and started approaching $500 million. Gradually, we got to $500 million, then started climbing into 600 billion, 700, and of course, by the beginning of this year, we hit 1 trillion. Now, as of today, we are 1.77 trillion. So we're just like a quarter of a trillion to $2 trillion in market cap. That is huge. That is significantly huge compared to where we were at the beginning of last year. And in the last 1 week, there's been a gain of about 330 billion in inflows to the market. More than almost half of that has gone into altcoins. And Bitcoin dominance has been shifting between 60 points, essentially between 61 and 58 point something in the last 1 week. So what that tells us is a lot of money, new money is coming into the markets, and most of it is still sitting in Bitcoin because, as you can see, Bitcoin dominance is still 60.5. And what this tells us is that it's no longer retail that is bringing in money, because how much money can retail bring in that will get you 330 billion in 1 week? If I were to show you the position we were 2 weeks ago, we're probably, 2 weeks ago, we're like 900 billion. So it means in 2 weeks, we've done 800 billion in influx into the market. I don't think there are too many people that have that kind of money. So it's obvious that this is institutional buying going on. And as you well know, that most of the dips and the crashes we've had have been quickly bought up by major institutional investors. So this is where we are in terms of market cap. Significant gains already. From this 1.7 trillion, you can add another 1.3 to it. That's why I said very easily we'll get to $3 trillion by the time the stimulus has expended itself on the world economy. In terms of technical analysis, I'll bring up this chart to show what's going on with Bitcoin. So this is the Bitcoin chart. Not much to see if you don't understand what you're looking at, but basically it's a daily chart for the price of Bitcoin, and you can tell that we've been in this upward trajectory significantly from here, which was the slump we had in September. So we sort of had that parabola that is going now, going up. It was originally going up in this steep manner before it got broken down at 58,000. And after that correction that we had back to 42 or 43, we're back up again. We had a sell-off at the beginning of today because people felt that, as somebody said, the anniversary of the cryptocurrency holocaust, because March 12 last year was the day Bitcoin price crashed to $3,000 or $4,000. So the guy said that in honor of the cryptocurrency holocaust, that we might have another price crash today, but it's obvious that price crash was quite short-lived because it was quickly bought up. So I mean, the lowest we got to today was 55,000, and now we're back up to 57. It looks to me like we finished today at around 58 max, and then maybe the weekend we'll touch 60 and come back, or we'll touch 60 and stay there, depending on how we close today, because whatever price we close today will affect the CME closing price. So if the CME closing price is lower than our price for today, it means we'll have a gap when we open on Monday, and then that might also cause some volatility. But generally speaking, the Bitcoin long-term perspective is the bias is generally up. This is intraday, it shows that we've had some correction as well, and we are significantly on our on our way up. So there's no significant resistance to this price until around 62,000. If we break up from 62,000, then we're likely to see a 70 or 80K Bitcoin very quickly, because historically, once we have this kind of correction that we have on the daily, so just to give you an idea of, in terms of percentages, this correction is 26%. If you have this kind of correction, it means that from the bottom to the next stop, there is every likelihood that the price will be double. So if you took the bottom here, technically speaking, which is 42, 100% from 42 is easily 84. So it can slink to 84, or depending on what the market conditions are, can get to 90 or 100 before coming back. And bear in mind that once you start crossing into those territories, 10% suddenly becomes 10K. So if you get to 100K, for instance, and the price drops 20%, 20% is 20K. It's still hard to come to terms with these numbers, to be honest, because, bearing in mind that just exactly 1 year ago, Bitcoin sold for $4,000. So it might be very difficult to come to terms that the same Bitcoin is on its way up to 100,000. But we'll see. In terms of our fundamental sentiment on fear and greed index, we're very much on greed now. After a while, we'll probably start going up on our greed scale to 80, 90. And once we start getting to the 90s, then we're going to have another period of cool off. But right now, we're still in good stead to keep going up. So I expect that we'll see 70, 80, 90 over the next few weeks. And then once we get to the 90s, we might have another correction. Usually we have corrections where we get to the 90s. We don't usually stay in the 90s for more than a week or two before the fear and greed index comes back and sits around 43 or 50 or thereabouts. And then there'll be, it's almost funny that coincidentally, that's the time you find some funny news coming up in the media about something bad about the blockchain, or some funny news just comes up. And then people say, oh, that's the reason why the price drops. But anyway, that's where we are in terms of the bias. In terms of technical sentiment, you could see that last week, we were pretty much sell in intraday. This week, we are buy in intraday. And both the longer term, which is the daily sentiment, is in agreement. So it means we're good to go. I don't see us dipping further than 55 currently. Even if I don't think it's going below 55 before we get to 60. If we get to 60, then there's a higher chance that maybe we'll come down to maybe 50 or something lower. But if we get to 60 and the price does not move upward from 60, then we might have some correction. Other than that, we're on the way up. In terms of our psychology, I like to keep us grounded so that we don't get carried away. We're still here. We're still at the crux of belief and thrill. Now, everybody wants to get invested. People are telling everybody to get invested. So we're about getting into thrill again. Once we get to next week, when people start having their stimulus money, we're going to get into thrill, and then Bitcoin might just suddenly arrive at 100,000, and we're all going to be euphoric and say, yeah, we're all going to be rich. And then the price crashes by another 20%. So it's important to keep in mind that, yeah, we're still very close to euphoria. I think we'll get to euphoria for a brief period, probably sometimes in summer, I think so. And then everybody will decide to go on summer break, and the market will take a breather. But that's where we are in terms of the market cycle, and it's important to know where we are. Like I always try to tell people that the same way a farmer will look at the context of where he is in terms of the climate. So a farmer doesn't start to plant when it's winter. In the same way, in the tropics, a farmer doesn't start to plant when it's the Harmattan season, because especially for most crops that are rain dependent, like maize and the likes, you need quick supply of water, and they can't stay in the in the land for long before decaying if you don't get the needed amount of moisture. So the farmer will look at the context of where he is before making his plans on planting season and harvesting. So a farmer is not going to start planting maize in December. In the same way, the farmer is not going to start planting yam in April. I happen to know that, by the way, because my late father used to take me to the farm, and I used to try to, of course, I did agree, but that was the practical for me, because I understood that you couldn't plant yam at the beginning of the rainy season because it was already too late. Neither could you plant maize at the beginning of the Harmattan because it was too early. So in the same way, understanding the macro view of the market helps you in taking investment decisions. So like somebody was asking me over the week, I said, the only reason I'm comfortable telling you to invest now is because I know where we are in terms of the market cycle. And I know that we're just about to take a very large leap upward. That if you come back to me end of summer, I'm going to tell you that hold your money, because we need to see where the market's going. Or if you come back to me in January 2022, I'll say you need to wait a bit more, because at that time we might be here around panic when the price are taking a 50% correction and all the altcoins are flatlined, and it's only Bitcoin that is standing. So it's important to know where you are in the market cycle before you make an investment decision. Like somebody who I told to buy Bitcoin, and the person bought when it was 57K. The next day after he bought, the market crashed down to 40 something. And the guy was like, why is it that, it was when he bought and the market crashed? I'm like, well, it's just one of those things that it's just a correction in the larger scheme of things, that if you're looking at this by July, for instance, when Bitcoin is already above 100K, that you won't be saying, oh, why did I buy at 50K or 57? Because at that time, you're almost 100%. But it's important to always know when you're getting into any investments, where are you in the market cycle? In my days of Forex trading, we usually had this monthly cycle, which said that when you want to enter a trade, you are best to enter, especially if it's a swing trade or a daily trade, you are best to enter at the beginning of the month, because that is when the hedge funds are allocating their funds. They've cleaned off the profits from last month. So they're taking positions. Institutional bankers are taking positions in the first week of the month. And then the market will just misbehave for the most of, and then the economic data for the US comes out, like NFP comes out at the beginning of the month as well. So you're likely to see large movements during that period. And then you wait again till the last week of the month, because then you also know that many of the guys want to cash out for the month. Some are rebalancing their portfolio for the month. And that happens monthly and happens quarterly in the Forex market. So in each market that you're in, there is always a cycle. And for the cryptocurrency market, like I've always said, the cycle has been determined by the halving phenomenon. And we know from last halving phenomenon that we still have about, give or take, 9 months left in this bull run. Now, there are so many hypotheses about whether this bull run is going to be a super bull run where we will not really get into a bear market before hitting another one because of institutional interest. I think it's 50-50. I think the markets will still correct. But I think the effect of the bear market will be on altcoins in the long term, because when people start taking profits in Bitcoins, the altcoins will start to feel the effect. And if there's any sense of panic, most retail investors who are older than 2 years in the market already know that the bear market is coming. So they will take out their funds, they will take out profits. And for newer investors, they might panic and sell at a loss because they won't know that the bear market will show up. But what we don't know is whether the bear market will last long enough because of the interests of the institutional buyers who are just interested in taking positions in the Bitcoin market. And because you have, what do they call them? serial Bitcoin investors like MicroStrategy that will keep buying the dip. Eventually, it might become very difficult for Bitcoin to fully correct into a bear market position. And that's why I said my personal hypothesis is that we're going to have an altcoins bear market while Bitcoin price just oscillates within a range till it's almost time for the next bull run. But having said that, it's always important to keep in mind at which point you're entering the market, so that one, you don't panic if the price is going through a correction. Two, you don't hold on if the market is entering a bear market. So having said that, let's go into Crypto Drip before we take question and answers. And the topic for discussion today is NFT. I'm still going to talk about NFT in the DeFi 1 and 2 class happening next week on the 27th. But I just thought to give an overview of what it is here. In those classes, I will talk about how to profit from it. But NFT is for short, non-fungible tokens. What does that mean? Fungibility, or when you say something is fungible, it means it's the same and it has equal value, regardless of which one it is. So if you say $10, 10 naira, or 10 pounds, they are fungible, meaning $10 is $10 anywhere in the world. 10 pounds is 10 pounds anywhere in the world. 10 naira is 10 naira anywhere in the world. And because of that, if I borrowed you 10 naira, you can return 10 naira to me because it has the same value, essentially. And it's not unique in any way. Well, from a production perspective, it is unique in that currencies do have serial numbers. But from a value perspective, it's not unique because they carry the same value. If that makes my point clear. But from a cryptocurrency or cryptography perspective, a non-fungible token is specially generated on the blockchain and it's uniquely identifiable, meaning not only does it have its own serial number, it doesn't have a replacement. The only thing you can liken to NFT in real world is a work of art. So all the what's it called, Mona Lisa painting or Da Vinci paintings, they're considered as non-fungible because they're unique. You don't have two of them. You only have one of them. And because they're unique, they usually carry very high prices because the prices, usually is to the highest bidder. The reason why this is creating a lot of buzz right now in the cryptocurrency market is because cryptocurrency or the cryptocurrency developers always find a way to dazzle the finance and the banking industry. And I think this is one of those very interesting inventions to dazzle the finance industry once again. So first they came out with cryptocurrency, the finance industry and the banking didn't get it. When banking started thinking, okay, we're going to try to regulate, we're going to try to clamp down, then they started creating tokens using Ethereum. Then when they were starting to go after that, then we went into DeFi, which is another totally, DeFi is an entire industrial ecosystem on its own. And as if DeFi was not enough, now they've introduced non-fungible tokens. And just this week, somebody sold a non-fungible art token for $68 million. That's the highest anyone has ever sold a piece of art. So the guy is a digital artist called alias is Beeple. He sold it for $68 million. And somebody was like, why? What's the noise? What's the craze about this NFT? Why are people going nuts about it? It's the same way people go nuts about work of art. One, because it's irreplaceable, it's unique. You can't create, even if you have NFTs that are digital, like pictures. So that there's an NFT that sold for 100K. I remember one that sold for 100K. What was on that NFT? A picture of Donald Trump, like a baby, like a naked baby on his face down, in defeat, and and a couple of other things printed around it. And that NFT sold for 100K. Nothing spectacular, just the uniqueness. Now, people that are very wealthy or the ultra rich have they have a penchant for acquiring rare stores of value. So in addition to all the investments they have, they usually will buy art, they will buy rare collectibles, maybe like things from museums, things from archaeological ornaments, things that are extremely rare. Some of them collect antiquities in terms of classic cars. Some of them is wristwatches. The reason they do that is because those are like non-fungible items. You don't have two of them. Some of them, I mean, there was a particular, I can't remember a Ferrari that, I can't remember that Ferrari. It's so old. That Ferrari is at least 80 years old. The price was incredible. The amount it was sold was incredible. So really, people pay what they feel they can for non-fungible items. So the same way somebody can take a Mona Lisa painting that's never been seen before and sell it for $1 million. It's highest bidder. Is, you know, if I feel it's worth $1 million, you can't question the worth of that token. So the reason non-fungible tokens are beginning to create a lot of buzz is, number one, it creates an avenue for the rich to have unique stores of value. So we already have Bitcoin. Institutions are also putting their hands on Bitcoin, try to hedge against inflation. But when you have storage of value like this, if I bought it for, imagine somebody that bought NFT for 69 point something million. How much is he going to sell it in 10 years time? So it creates a lot of interest for both rich collectors and for people who want to launder money, by the way, because it's also a very good avenue to, I mean, people talk about money laundering and they think it's only, you know, the developing countries that are guilty, but we do know that the developed world launder money through artifacts and non-fungible items, basically work of art and all that. So it's it's an extremely attractive industry, and that's why since the beginning of this altcoin season, you've seen a lot of non-fungible tokens ballooning in price. Even, in fact, any coin that says it's non-fungible token now, it's selling. Just like last year, any coin that says it's DeFi, the price will just be going up. But technically speaking, it's an offshoot of the Ethereum technology. So the Ethereum technology uses a protocol called ERC20, which was what helped people to create coins from Ethereum network. So most of the blockchain, I mean, most of the coins or cryptocurrencies that we have on the market, more than half of them are from offshoots of the Ethereum network. Even coins like Binance Coin, the original Binance Coin was an offshoot of the Ethereum network. Most major coins originally started from Ethereum network, and their technology is based on what you call this ERC20 protocol. But for non-fungible tokens, the protocol is ERC721, which means it gives you uniqueness to every token that's being generated on that blockchain. So the same way you have about 12.5 Bitcoins being generated every 10 minutes on the Bitcoin, on the blockchain network of Bitcoin right now, non-fungible tokens will be generated on NFT-specific blockchains. So I wanted to show you, I don't know if I still have it open. I wanted to show NFTs for, oh, sorry, not this one. I wanted to show NFTs and where they are in terms of their performance in the last few months, or even the last few weeks. And the reason I wanted to show it's just to show, so if you check, come here now and say NFT, and you check the NFT tokens, you see that most NFT tokens have been, they've been ballooning in price, because that's the aim thing in terms of NFT tokens and in terms of newest innovation. That is about the newest innovation. It's not like it's really new, because I mean, coins like Engine have been around for more than 3 years. They've been working on this thing, but it's the new burst. Every alt season, there's a buzzword. The current buzzword is NFT and DeFi secondarily. And that's why you can see all these coins. You can see in the last 1 week, they've all been green. In fact, I wasn't paying so much attention until somebody brought my attention to it about last week, that what's going on with NFTs. That was when I realized that, oh, that's the new buzzword. So you can expect that in this alt season, many of these guys will see significant gains, even if they're not doing anything, just because they are categorized as NFTs. You will see a lot of buzz around them, and there will be a lot of speculative interest, basically. So that's that in terms of the NFT overview. All other things about NFT we'll discuss during the DeFi Fundamentals 1 and 2 classes tomorrow and on the 27th. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take your questions now. I think we have about 6 minutes left. Thank you. If you have question on Instagram, just type in your question. Dr. Jukutola, I see Douglas. I see Wise, I see Mr. Money Control as an interesting name. Yeah, Kule, do you have a question?
No, I don't do.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question, please.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yeah, like those NFT tokens that we talk about, is
Yes.
UNC one of them?
UNC.
Yeah.
What's the full name?
Because I had something done on TronLink Pro, and
Okay.
I suddenly saw some coins being deposited to me, but interestingly, I can't move them to anywhere, but values were not attached to them. So I was wondering, what's the UNC, because it's Uniswap variant or derivative or something like that. I wasn't too sure, but the logos looks like that of the Uniswap.
Is it the one I'm showing on the screen right now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Ooh.
Okay. Well,
okay.
This is the first time I'm hearing about this. It looks to me like I'm not sure if it is. Let me see. I'm not sure. It's a decentralized governance utility token used in a suite of apps that are used to provide liquidity to. It's supposed to be a liquidity token. I don't know. Okay. On which you said on TronLink, right?
Yeah, TronLink Pro.
Okay. It might be that TronLink is also putting out their DEX, and this is the reward token. So the same way Uniswap version 2 is the reward token for liquidity provision on the Uniswap DEX or the Uniswap DeFi. It might be. This is the first time I'm seeing this particular one. So it might be that that's their reward token. So for providing liquidity on most DeFi platforms,
yeah,
you get rewarded with a governance token. So when Uniswap first came out and did liquidity provision for I think maybe like 6 or 4 weeks, they did give Uni, the original Uni, but after that time, I think they changed it to Uni V2, and the only way you could then cash out was that you had to sell the Uni V2 into either Ethereum or USDT or something like that. So it might be the reward token for that particular platform.
So apparently, this UNC can be traded on this page that you are showing me now, and I can cash out.
I think so. Ooh. I think you can trade it on Uniswap, BK Exchange, 1inch, and Indo Exchange.
Okay, thank you.
No problems. I think I've lost my Instagram people. Do you have any other question?
I don't have any question. Just thanks for your time, really. That's all. Thanks for the explanation. Yeah, appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay, I think that's a good point to stop for today. If you're still interested in the trading fund, I mean the DeFi fundamentals 1 and 2, please let me know.